Welcome, everybody, to the Craft News segment, May 26, 2023. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. Wendy, you do not need that mask on. Trust me, we cannot catch COVID from you here in each of our homes.
No, that's an old one that I got at the beginning of the pandemic when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. So that one hangs up. I've never actually worn it.
You know what? Let's before we start, let's get it honest. I want everybody's honesty. How many masks did you have at one point, and how many masks do you still have now?
Well, let me answer that question with a follow-up question first. God. Does that include disposable ones?
No, it does not.
Okay, because I would have it by the hundreds if you included it, because my work sent me a whole bunch.
No, how many cloth masks or cloth masks with a filter or specialty masks, or how many masks did you have?
I probably had close to maybe about a dozen, because I would lose one, and then I would have to. Then I had another one, and then you would lose that one, and then you couldn't find one, and then you forget that you leave them in your car, and then you find four of them, and then you wash them. And so I probably had close to a dozen. Because you didn't know how long this thing was going to last for.
Still don't. Dan?
So I think I had a pack. I had a pack of 6 of them. I had one in each car, and then replacements to wash them. I feel like we're going borderline political with this, so I'm just trying to keep it
just how many masks did you have? That's all.
I think I had a 6-pack of them floating around.
I'm pretty sure we all had masks. I've seen all of us wear masks. It's not like it was oh my gosh, the masks are gonna give you oxygen.
No, so all fair, this isn't a QAnon type of conversation, but
I mean for me, I probably had 20 to 25 different ones, because I've got so many from Julia, who was making them for her Etsy page, and I would get all the beta test ones for all the because she would make masks that were geared towards big bearded fellas. I mean, it's hard to fit something like this in a mask, and it fits weird. So I would get all the test runs. So I would get so many, and of course she would have hers. So we would have all of ours all over the place between my car, her car, the front. Wendy, what about you? Before we go into the news,
I probably had 3 or 4 that I used regularly, but probably between me and my grandma, we probably had 20 or 30.
Well, that's also a thing. Your grandma's probably high risk. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a fair assumption I'm going to go with. Julia,
and I'll be honest, I still have a class that I'm in that I have to wear a mask at.
Wow. That's interesting for 2023. Julia, my girlfriend's high risk, so I had to be super careful, even though I've caught COVID more times than I care to admit.
Do you have it 3 days ago?
That's so we've tested negative after the first positive. So I think we might have had a false positive come out of that from one of the at-home tests. But yeah, I got super sick on Sunday after playing disc golf, which is a very confusing statement to say. Because I wasn't I was out in public, but not with anyone other than a handful of people, and they didn't get sick. So who knows? But yeah, let's go around, see what everybody's drinking. That's right, we're a drinking podcast. Dan, you seem talkative right now. What are you drinking?
So I've got this coffee dino s'mores from Off Color Brewing out of Chicago. It's actually pretty good.
Are we off program today?
What do you mean?
0 vodka sodas?
Yeah, we're off. Yeah, till Monday. Yeah, so
okay.
It's that kind of. So
okay,
that's what
I just making sure, just checking in, being a friend.
And then I've got another Milk Truck Latte Stout to go with it.
Wendy, what do you got?
Well, after spending a significant amount of time hanging out with the Coonans this weekend at Webb and talking about some of our favorite OGs in Michigan, I ended up stopping and picking up a Dragon Mead Final Absolution today. So, yeah, that's where we're going.
I know when I talk about Kunin, Dragon Mead is the beer that comes to mind.
Well, we were talking about our favorite old schools, and trust me, they know that one of my favorites is White Devil.
I'm gonna make a comment, and I think everybody is gonna agree. When you talk about the Oakland Macomb, like that northern Metro Detroit, or I guess southern Metro Detroit area, you thought of Black Lotus, Rochester Mills, Kunin, and Dragon Mead. That's it.
Yeah,
those four interchangeable. It's where are you? Oh, you're closer to the water. You're going to Dragon Mead. Oh, you're kind of you're off a mountain. You're going to Kunin. Oh, you're in the Oakland area. You're going to either depending North Oakland. You're going to Rochester Mills. South Oakland. You're going to Black Lotus. It's like that. That was just what it was.
So, and when I would drive over to that side of town, I would go to Dragon Mead and then I would go to Kunin's, or I would go to Kunin's and then I would go to Dragon Mead. So to me, they're kind of interchangeable. They're not. I understand that. Don't shoot me for that. But,
don't quote you.
I mean, they are. They're, to me, those are like my OGs for Michigan beer.
Wendy, Dragon Mead and Kunin are the same. Can't wait to tell Spencer that, because we're going to be scheduling Spencer to come on our show here at the end of June.
Nice.
For myself, I have New Holland Baltic Anomaly, one of those crazy old beers that I purchased. As I look at it right now, that is an 8.5% beer, so it is going to be a fun night. And I also have the chocolate stout from Sanders Old Nation, another great beer. Back when Old Nation bottled beer.
That bumpy cake, man. Get that bumpy.
I was saying the bumpy cake one.
Love the bumpy cake.
They haven't made that in years, and I don't know if you're going to be able to find that anywhere.
I'm sure it's somewhere out there.
I'm sure someone has a bottle. I did a beer trade 2 weekends ago, and I had all that Heady Topper, the Alchemist stuff. The beer that I wasn't going to enjoy. Vocal banger, and it was getting towards the end of its shelf life. And I traded those two, the IPA and the Luscious, for a bottle of 9 Ladies Dancing from the brewery. And I don't know what it was, but I thought about it, and I found someone that had it, found someone that wanted to do the trade. I had it, bought it, brought it to a friend's house, and after the beer festival later that night, we drank it, and it was gone. And I'm like, God damn it. Such a good beer. But it is the craft beer news segment for this week. Wendy, what kind of article did you bring us today?
Well, speaking of science classes, I found an article in the Science News about the fact that apparently several paintings created in Denmark during the Danish Golden Age, which was the mid-1800s, they found them to contain remnants of cereal grains and brewer's yeast. According to a conservator at the Royal Danish Academy, the records suggest that Danish house painters sometimes created glossy decorative paint by adding beer, but yeast and cereal grains had never been found in the primer. And she's been studying these paintings because they're trying to learn they're trying to learn their chemical composition so that they can preserve them effectively. They had some canvas trimmings from an earlier conservation effort that they were able to use to analyze. And they found, and I'm probably going to say this very wrong, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, I have no idea how to say that, proteins, as well as various combinations of wheat, barley, buckwheat, and rye proteins, which are all involved in beer fermentation. The tests of an experimental primer that the researchers whipped up using residual yeast from the modern beer brewing showed that the mixture held together and provided a stable painting surface, which, of course, is the primary purpose of a primer, and that the concoction worked better than the one that they had on record that was made of beer. So I just thought it was pretty cool. Wonder what you guys think.
makes me want to go to the DIA and see if there's paintings that have this, which I have no idea how to.
Just lick the paintings.
Just lick the painting. Yeah. I'll tell you this.
I don't think they like that.
I'll tell you this. I bet you will not find anything like that in the contemporary section at the DIA. I guarantee.
Probably not.
No.
Well, I guess my question would be, is this, they find the yeast in cereal grains. Is this something that they can cultivate and turn into yeast that they can make a beer out of? And
that's an interesting.
At that point, if you could do it and they find multiple paintings, could you run a line of beer that matches up with the yeast of each painting? And like that's the first thing that I went to. Is I just assumed it was going to be a gimmick beer. Something like this is something like Nick would post, like, oh, this is 1800s Danish painting beer.
I don't know if I would necessarily be the one that would post that. Maybe, but I'd say it's subjective.
That goes right up there with your non-beer and your other. Like that's what I would think would be great is if you could make a beer out of the yeast from the painting. I mean, at that point, I would try it.
I mean, does yeast yet last that long? Like, I'm just wondering how. I've got way more science questions in my brain now about it. About, does it last that long? Can you cultivate the yeast from there? Like, can we recreate it? What do we got to do?
Is there any lead in the paint?
Right. I'm sure there is. I mean, it is the mid 1800s.
I pulled up, I don't know any Danish artists. I pulled up a list just trying to see if there's anyone famous, but, find that maybe people in art know and then make a yeast from their paintings. I could definitely see that getting a following or having people interested.
Not a beer fest at the DIA. No kids, and you can go run around the DIA and get... Honestly, you could probably figure out a way to do a beer festival if you partner up with a bunch of breweries and get beer made by specific cultural yeast. So if you figure out like yeast that was or at some point or could have been cultivated by, say, the Chippewas, like some Native American yeast from all around the country, some Nordic yeast, some why can't I think of Viking yeast, like those kinds of things. Like you could probably
Nordic, Viking, all the
stuff. Nordic, Viking, Thor, Odin, that's all the same.
I'm sure they could analyze it though and figure out like what type of beer it was made. And so the artist that they listed as the 10 pieces they were looking at was Christopher Wilhelm Eckersberg, who is considered the father of Danish painting, and his protege, and I am not even going to try to say that name. We're going to call him Christian because I know.
Kristen Schuylerup Kupka. I have no idea. I just looked at it.
Normally I will use Google to figure out how to say something like that.
I would 100%, I'm still thinking of the gimmick, buy into the gimmick. Get the DIA, get them to partner with 25 breweries, get each brewery to make a beer. Like they bring their own beer, but then they have a DIA specific beer. Hell, you know what? Detroit Beer Festival, partner with the DIA. You've got all of these beers. Remember how they did the Faygo beers?
Oh, that was awesome.
At the Detroit Beer Festival.
Do a pre-festival like Friday night at the DIA. That would be a great thing.
Hell yeah. And each person, it's 21 and up. Some of the breweries, because a lot of them have to come into town, so maybe do a lot of the out of town breweries. There are ones in Grand Rapids, Traverse City, Marquette, UP, Northern Michigan, and just be like, all right, 25 breweries, who wants to do it? Maybe do something where you get Cedar Springs, because Cedar Springs has a big German type following. Do you have a specific following, or maybe something that's very cultural, like Eric Plata's over at Badge Brewing? Maybe you want to do something that's I'm pretty sure he has Mexican roots, so something that's Aztec, something that's or Mayan or something like that.
Oh, Ken, don't get yourself in trouble.
I'm not kidding. He's either Mexican or Spain, from Spain. I don't know which one he is from. So
So the Mayans and the Aztecs are very different locations. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, I have absolutely no idea. Is one like South America and one?
Yeah, Mayans are Mexican, Aztecs are South America.
Okay, I mean I'm
So
south of the U.S. Come on,
do
Wendy.
you guys remember de-electricity? De-electricity
No.
in Detroit. It was a nighttime exhibition in art and light. I do remember having beers at the DIA during that festival. Like they had a bunch of different art stuff that was set up all the way down from, like, I think we started at the DSO and ended up at the DIA when we did our walk. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of stuff there, but I'm pretty sure they had beers like everywhere you could go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I got nothing more to add. I would try a beer made from the yeast, and I think the DIA or some type of historical museum, this is a missed opportunity. I think we need to reach out and try to help host.
It's a good idea. I think so too.
Well, it wasn't a Nick type. Well, it was a Nick type article, but Nick, what's your article about? What kind of beer are we drinking today? Are we doing ramen beer?
No, we're going to do beer can chicken type of beer.
Can chicken. All
right. So let me ask you guys this. How do you guys feel about using beer when cooking food, like beer can chicken, things like that? How do you guys feel about using beer when you're actually cooking, grilling, etc.? What are your guys' general thoughts on that? Really quickly.
I do it all the time.
Wendy does it all the time. Ken, Dan?
Beer cheese? Hell yeah.
Beer cheese. Okay. Ken?
I drink when I grill. Does that count?
Not necessarily, but
does any of it ever get on the food?
Yeah, does it get on the food?
No, not really.
No, okay.
I used to do like a dip that would have beer in it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I think that counts. All right. So anyway, Perdue Farms, the number 3 largest chicken processing producer in the United States, has just recently collaborated and put out its own beer. Collaborating with, and forgive me on the name of the brewery, Torch and Crown Brewing, came up with a beer called Beer Can Chicken Beer. It has the Perdue label on it, and this is a limited edition beer. Honey double citrus summer ale, brewed with classic grilled chicken seasonings like rosemary, thyme, and pink peppercorn. It's supposed to be tangy, juicy, hint of sweetness. And they, according to the press release, perfectly crafted for both summer grilling and sipping. Me personally, someone who's started getting more and more into cooking over the last probably couple of years, I don't really go in that direction using beer in food. I find just simple seasoning. There's a lot of spices out there, just kind of enhances the food by itself. Tara's got a brand new pellet smoker. We've been using that like crazy for like ever since she's got it for her birthday. Not sure how you guys feel about a chicken producer. I mean, hey, collaboration is collaboration, especially with a big name like Perdue. Knowing that this is kind of I wouldn't say it tastes like chicken, but a citrusy summer ale. What are your thoughts? Is this something you guys would try? Just forget the fact that there's a chicken producer on it and it has beer can chicken beer labeled on it. Is this something that you'd be willing to try? Is this the new Oberon? Probably not. But is this something you guys would be willing to try?
You had me up until, is this the new Oberon?
Highly doubted. Doubt that.
I was muted. I said I'm going to go with no.
Go with a no.
No, I would try it. It's not the new Oberon.
I don't think it's the new Oberon either. I will try it, but definitely not the new Oberon.
What style of beer was this again?
They're saying this is a double citrus summer ale, so it's probably going to be like your Oberon. I would probably put it in the Oberon category.
It looks like a honey wheat.
Yeah.
With what you were saying is in it, it'd be a good like a Belgian wit.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Like I think it'd be perfect, but I don't know. It's like a summer ale.
And I think they're marketing it as a summer ale,
or even like a farmhouse ale.
That's
would be a good
thinking.
type of thing with these spices in it. I think it'd be amazing. I feel like it's going to be too light otherwise with what they're doing. Of course, I haven't tried it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can pull up the picture here and see what the ABV is. It's kind of like, I can't, because it doesn't say, and it's really hard to read the label from a distance.
It's 5.5%.
5.5%.
If you can actually taste the spices, it might be good in like a shredded chicken that you would use for salads or something like that. I could see that instead of using a broth.
I mean, this is served in a 6-pack, so I think it's both meant to be cooked with and meant to be drank. So,
right.
I wonder if Tyson Foods is going to come up with one next.
That's the next expansion.
The next expansion, Tyson Foods started collaborating with beer.
Yeah.
Is it Perdue that talks about their birds not having
Yeah. So
and stuff?
Yeah, Perdue was the company that had a lot of controversy surrounding them earlier in the century, probably in like the 2010s. That they were being called out on their inhumane methods of killing the chickens.
Tyson's the one with no antibiotics ever.
So, actually, there was an actual documentary about Perdue that I remember watching forever and a day ago that highlighted all the mispractices of Perdue. But I think I'm not sure if they cleaned up their act or not. I'm not sure. That's a different story. But
I think it's one of those. It's one of those beers where the spices sound good to where you'll probably give it a try, and it's probably going to taste like a nice Belgian wit or a honey ale, like a honey lav from Black Rocks, like in that area of beer. So obviously you get the beer can chicken because that's the whole make a beer can chicken. So you might as well, you make a chicken with one, and now you have a 5-pack to drink while you're cooking the chicken.
Isn't that how you normally do?
That's a Matt Bush thing.
It's a Matt Bush thing.
What's that one?
5-pack.
Isn't that normally how you make beer can chicken?
Yes, with the beer can.
I've never actually done that, so I wouldn't know.
I have not either. I am definitely a frozen chicken breast kind of person.
Get the chicken breast,
I think Tara did a beer can chicken once before. I'm not sure how long ago it was. I think it was a couple of years ago before we got the current pellet smoker. I think is another thing.
I'm a slow cooker kind of girl, so shredded chicken, shredded pork, anything that I can do in my crock pot, I'll add beer to that. My corned beef gets made with Guinness every year.
Wait.
Sometimes an amber or harp.
Corned beef with Guinness?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't boil my corned beef like most people though. I cook it like a roast.
Interesting.
Does it like fall apart?
Yeah.
I bet that's amazing.
Oh, it's so good. But I don't like soggy cabbage, so the cabbage goes in for like the last 30 minutes, so it's still a little crispy, but it's got the good flavor.
Gotta get some sauerkraut.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be due for making sauerkraut in a few more months.
Do you make your own?
I actually help out my father-in-law and some of Tara's uncles. They actually do it. They actually get the cabbage from one of the farms up here. They're shredding, and then they got the old-fashioned crocks, and you have to stomp it with the stomper and everything. It's like a whole outfit for like an entire morning and half an afternoon, and then it just sits in the basement because they don't live up here. They go down to Tennessee for the winter where it's a little bit warmer. But when they come back, the whole house just smells like sauerkraut because it's all fermented and shit.
My sister made it in her laundry room one time.
Yeah, it's basically it's in the basement, which is where the laundry room is. So, but
No, she was in an apartment, so
gosh,
it wasn't that big of a batch though, so it didn't smell.
Okay, all right, yeah, we're talking like multiple gallon size ceramic crocks, like the Germans used to make it back in the day. And it would literally be like a half a day. Like I would have blisters on my hands for like 2-3 days. That's how bad it was. Yeah. That's why they had like 6 or 7 people doing it all at once, taking turns. Now I want some sauerkraut.
Well, Dan, I don't know how you're going to top that, but go for it.
The old sauerkraut talk. So
sauerkraut talk. Beer.
I wanted to take a different approach here today. So I was in Salt Lake City last week. Learned something new. You always hear about these weird laws that places like Salt Lake City or Utah in general used to have. So back in 2017, Utah ended a law called the Zion Curtain Law. The Zion Curtain Law was a law that in order to make any type of alcoholic beverage, bars or restaurants had to have a partition or something to completely block any patron in the building from seeing them make this beverage. The goal of this original rule was to shield kids from the supposed glamour of bartending and subsequent risks of underage drinking. So what I wanted to talk about is what is the weirdest or most outlandish law or rule that doesn't make sense if you've run across out there in any type of beer travel. There were a lot of things I learned in Salt Lake City. I was at a concert last Wednesday, wondering why I wasn't getting drunk when I had 7 beers, and it turns out the beer was 2.9%. So things like that. Yeah. So that kind of thing. So I want to see what the most random thing you've come across, whether it be a law, a rule in a specific place.
Giving Wendy and Nick some time to think. What beer were you drinking that was only 2.9 that you didn't know? That almost sounds like Bella Soft Snow territory.
It was an amber that I have never heard of before. So it took me until beer number 6 to actually see the can, because when you go there, they can't hand you the can. They have to pour it into a glass and hand you the glass.
Okay.
If I was like, hey, can I see this? Can I see this beer? Yeah, it was listed at 2.9% of what I was drinking. Yeah.
What were they charging you for it?
Do you really want to know? I was at a concert.
I do.
It was $11 a beer.
For what? 2.9%?
Yeah.
First of all,
fuck that.
For the amount of shit that I feel like you looked at me for during our trip to San Antonio and me drinking the 16 ounce or the $16 24-ounce Bud Lights, I feel validated now.
Well, I didn't until I realized it was like 9:30 at night, and it's like, why do I not have a buzz? So there's a fun thing in Utah. So they can serve draft beer now. That used to not be a thing. Draft beer, the maximum it can be is 5.0%. If it goes 5.0%, it's called a high point beer. It can't be out of draft. It has to be out of a bottle or a can. If you're serving that kind of alcohol at the location, they have to scan your ID before you can even come in. So in order to walk into the place, they have to scan your ID, and then it has to be poured into a specific glass.
Isn't it like so many ounces that they can serve to? So
not that I was aware of, because I drank a 16-ounce, 10% beer. And the price. So here's the fun thing too. If they serve it at the bar, it's double the price than if you take it home with you. So the beer, if you drank at the bar, it was about $10 for it was a wee heavy that I drank, a 16 ounce. But if I took it back with me, it was $10 to get it. It was $5 to take it with me. Epic is there. Everyone knows Epic Brewing. Their entire tap room is them just cracking open bombers and pouring them into a glass for you. And you can get 3 ounce. No, it was 2 ounce. You can get a 5 ounce, and you can get a 12 ounce. So it's literally just pouring it into a glass for you.
Well, Wendy, what is a law that is
So
crazy to you?
Or even a rule, just
A
anything
rule.
I have
weird
two
you've
that
come
I want to talk
across.
about.
Yeah.
The first one, so I actually do, I have TikToks that I've been doing about this that are weird laws in states. And I did some in Alaska because I learned a lot when I was in Alaska about what they were allowed to serve and what they weren't. But one of the laws I came across is that it's illegal to serve alcohol to a moose in Alaska. And it actually is a true law. The city officials in Fairbanks, Alaska, created this law to try and keep one of the local tavern owners from getting his pet moose drunk.
What?
I swear to God. Like, I looked that up because I was like, that can't be real. But I'm like, why would you want? I don't even want to get that close to a moose. I want to see one, but I don't want to get that close to it. So I thought that was funny. But when I was in Illinois, we went in on St. Patrick's Day to the local VFW in Galena, Illinois. And they, every time somebody would order a drink, the bartender would be like, I can't serve you your next drink until you're done with that one. Like, there, a group of people came up. There was a table next to the bar. There were like 4 or 5 girls sitting there drinking. And they came up and ordered around for the table. And he was like, you have to bring all the other ones up first. And I watched him do it to like 3 or 4 different people that he was like, I can't give you one until you finish the one you've got. It really is a law in Illinois that you have to, they can't serve you your next drink before you're done with the first one.
So I couldn't be, oh, go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, I have such an added caveat to that. So, because I know this is true, I went to one of the Goose Island breweries. It might have been it was somewhere in Wrigleyville. So I don't know if that's a regular one or a different one, like a satellite. And they said the exact same thing. You can't have, 2 beers. You can only buy one. Because I was like, oh, I wanted to try, I'm going to get 2 different pints. And it was a busy day because I'm pretty sure it was a Cubs day. And I was like, I want to get my beers before you go crazy and I can't get another beer from you. And she goes, well, I can't serve you 2 beers. And I said, well, there was a table. There was about 10 of us. And I said, all right, you're going to set down 1 beer. And then by the time you set down the last beer, you're going to come back to me and this beer's going to be gone. And you could bring me that one. And sure as shit, she brought me one, set it down first, and she said, good luck, and started handing out everybody's beer. By the time she came back, and this was back when I was definitely in my prime of drinking, that beer was gone and the next one was there. I didn't have to drive.
You're no longer a chugger, is that what you're saying?
Not in that sense. No, not anymore. There was, I remember a day where we were at a bar out in wherever we were at, and I got a pitcher of beer, and I remember one of my friends challenging me to chug the pitcher of beer.
This wasn't at Augie's?
This was not an
bar
Augie's,
formerly known
no,
as
we
Augie's?
never ordered pitchers there. We only ordered Boombas. And I'm like, all right, it was just Coors Light. I'm like, all right. And I just slammed back the pitcher before they could get through like a third of it. I'm like, well, now I'm annoyed because I just drank my entire beer and I need to order another one. Not I need to wait. I need to order another one to drink through. So yeah, so that Illinois law, I also remember in Delilah's that I couldn't get more than 1 drink while I was there, so I couldn't order multiple 1-ounce drams of whiskey at the same time. I had to wait for each one to go through.
So I guess maybe it's because it was a flight that we ordered, because I did a brewery tour in Chicago and I never had any issues like that. That's the first time I've been to Illinois where I heard that.
Might be different laws for breweries versus bars.
Like different licenses. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my guess, because now that I think about it, I mean, I've been to Beguile, I've been to, a handful of breweries out there to where Half Acre, whatever one's
Half Acre.
Half Acre.
Yeah.
Other Half's in New York. Yeah, so I've had flights there too, but yeah, I didn't even think about that but I remember just that one day the waitress is like, all right, let's go. All I remembered is I didn't have to drive that day, And secondly, the person who drove us drank more than I did.
Jesus.
This is one of those folks that like I thought I could drink under the table, and then I learned, because this guy was throwing back PBRs like it was his job and doing like shots of whiskey on the side. Like,
Oh, Jesus.
I'll have a PBR. Oh, we're about to leave. All right, hold on one, guys. I'm gonna get my bill and a shot of whiskey to go.
Wait, hold on. Was this the 40 frame guy you told me about before?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this sounded familiar.
Yeah. That guy. I'm sitting in the back of the car and I'm tanked, and he's driving. I'm like, fuck me. Yeah.
What about you, Ken? You've traveled quite a bit.
I have.
What are weird? What's the weirdest rule or law you've come across?
Two things come to mind: the weird laws in Maryland on Sundays. A lot of blue laws over there, including like when they can serve alcohol even at restaurants, not just like no grocery store sales. And how like there's some sites, like I went to a cigar bar. And it was a cigar bar that had like a to-go area for alcohol. And you couldn't get the alcohol until like after 12. Or no, not even after 12. It was just like the weird alcohol rules in Baltimore. I was in Baltimore for that night. And like Sunday night, everything was kind of like fine. Like every bar I went to was fine. But like finding a place to drink and finding a place to do things and the different rules. Like when I went to, that was the day where I went to Hollywood Casino over in Baltimore, and I went to the craft beer bar, and that was the day that somebody like quit, and they were the only person at the craft beer bar, and a slot technician was able to take I've told the story before, pour my beer, take it to the downstairs bar, hand it to the bartender, who was then able to serve me.
That's so weird.
I'm like, this seems like so many extra steps. I mean, the dude got a $10 tip from me because they had a peanut butter Jesus, I think, on draft, like a really good beer, like an adjunct barrel aged beer that I wanted to try, because the options at the
Are you talking about Sweet Baby Jesus?
Yeah, Sweet Baby Jesus. Thank you, Duclaw.
Man, I love that beer.
So, but the thing is that it was either do all this or Bud, Miller, Coors, all in bottles, no draft. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, so he went through all of these steps to do it, and he's not even a server. He's a slot technician. And so, like, I found him, and I threw him a $10 bill, and he said, I can't take a tip. And I said, all right. And I wound up, I put $10 in the machine and walked away, and I said, whatever happens, happens. No, I believe Iowa has some weird laws. Alabama has some weird laws, but there's one that I wish we could bring to Michigan, and that is what I've seen in Ohio and Louisiana, and that is drive-through.
We have like drive-through liquor stores.
Well, in Ohio they have drive-through liquor stores. In Louisiana they have drive-through like cocktail stores. You could get like drive-through margaritas.
We have drive-through stores here. You can do the same thing if they have that kind of thing there. Like, for example, if you go to a liquor store that also has kegs that they can put into crawlers or growlers, like you can do that here. I'm actually kind of surprised Michigan doesn't have that. I feel like there was a place by the airport that it was a drive-through. You like drove into the building and you could get whatever you wanted, and they just handed it to you in a bag.
It's down on Merriman Road.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know if they're still there. I mean, you could get beer there. You couldn't get liquor, but you could get beer.
That might be a rule.
And it was like twice the price of everything.
Of course,
it wasn't cheap to shop there, but
but you would just drive into the building
Yep. And you tell them what you want, and they would just run and get it for you and bring it over to you.
Yeah,
So
I would love that here in Michigan, but like just blue laws still in at that time it was probably 2018, 2019. Like
I'm sure they're still there.
Oh, there's well, so the thing is that COVID changed a lot of liquor laws in the states because there was a lot of want of ease of access to a lot of things, like here in Michigan.
So I don't know about other states, but here the businesses that had the liquor laws to, for example, sell to go, like sued to stop companies or businesses that didn't have that to make sure they couldn't keep doing that. So I feel like that probably happened in other states too. They're like, nope, you're not going to be able to do this. Only we can do it.
Well, there's a lot of lobbying for and against. Like, for example, the Brewers Guild was at the Michigan State Senate earlier this week trying to get non-alcoholic beer to be not labeled as beer so that they didn't have to follow all the beer rules.
Which they shouldn't have to.
That's and distributors are lobbying against it, saying they need to. It's beer because it says beer on it or some shit. So that's definitely a thing. Did Nick go?
No, Nick, let's get you involved in this. Is there anything you've ever come across?
Respect to ridiculous beer prices at 2.9%. Oh, not that I can think of. I've seen like the opposite, where it's like a decent deal, or at least I thought it was a good deal. Like the opposite. Ken, were you there at On the Rocks when we got that bucket of North Peak Diabolical?
I know they exist.
All right. Well, they gave us like a deal on Diabolical. North Peak Diabolical, and they gave us like a bucket of like 6 for like 20 something, maybe $30 tops, which seemed like a really good deal at the time. But bad. I can't think of one. I can't now. Bowling alley prices are going up. Does that count?
Yeah, that kind of counts because it's cheap beer. So
yeah, because it's like what $4 for like Budweiser, Bud Light, Coors Light.
I don't know about you. I pay $14 including tip for a pitcher of Miller Lite, and I'm happy for the night.
Miller.
I mean, it is triple hopped, so.
I could get Alaskan Amber for 18, incling tip.
It makes sense. I would totally get the Amber, but
I would too. I'd be
The issue is that there's a lot of beers that are at the bowling alley that I've been to that were there when I started in September, and they were still there when I
same keg
ended in May, and I'm pretty sure they're the same keg. That's what, like, honest to God, that's why fair. I went with like a lot of the cheap lagers, just because I knew those kegs were turning and it wasn't getting old. I can't tell you how long they had a keg of 60 minute, and I'm like, all right, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I would have tried it to see if the hops had fallen off.
Like, you're at Canton, Michigan. You're not in like you're not a craft beer bar. You're not a craft beer bowling alley. Because there were craft beer. There was a bowling alley in Howell that I used to go to all the time that had like 40 craft taps. And
oh damn!
There would be people there that would just. This was a decade ago plus.
Oh, okay, never mind.
This was.
I'll tell you what. If they combine the craft beer bowling alley with, was it what was the bowling alley in Troy that had the casino?
Oh,
they didn't just have poker.
5-star.
Yeah, they had the blackjack too and everything else. Oh my god!
Well, like, they had a couple of handles there, if I recall, didn't they?
They did.
You're talking like New Belgium, Shock Top.
Yeah.
Blue Moon.
But if you're throwing down with like 40 craft beers and gambling, like, I'm in. Like, let's do it.
Well, in Illinois, they wouldn't let us get 2 beers at a time, but we could take our beer over and play the slot machines that were in the bar.
Yes, Illinois does have gaming inside bars just for slot machines. That is correct.
Not just like the gaming that you can do at bars in like Detroit and elsewhere.
No, because you can get, I'm pretty sure you can get cash payouts here, whereas in Detroit and Michigan, you have to get
you can get cash payouts too. So at least
you're supposed to get gift card payouts, like Visa gift card payouts.
Oh, okay.
Supposed to. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying it's supposed to. My article is going to be pretty simple. Obviously, I am a business nerd and a sales nerd. And the current update on craft beer within the country. Most breweries went down in production up until you get to the 7th brewery, I believe, on the list, which is Stone. Stone's the only one that increased in production year over year. The top 6, including Yuengling, Sierra Nevada, Boston Beer Company, all have gone down in production. I will state the fact, and by fact, I mean my personal opinion, that everybody is now slowly like drinking local a little bit more, drinking hyper local a little bit more, and these major craft beer brands are going to start falling to the wayside. Now, are they going to drop super low? Absolutely not. They're not going to fall out of the top 10 or so. But these breweries, the ones that are purchasing things like, you're not going in and you're not buying Stone IPA, or you're not buying, Firestone Walker. Like you're going in and you're buying something a little bit more local. So these bigger brands are losing share value within the craft beer industry, as well as barrelage, because they're just not making as much. So my question to you guys is very, very simple. First question is, when was the last time you bought Yuengling or Boston Beer Company?
I'll go first. Yuengling I can't buy here. I've still been milking the 24 beers they sent me from when they were on the show. Boston Beer I buy on an airplane every time I can, if I can get it, because it's usually the best option. So one quick question. You said, make sure I understood, Stone was the first brewery going down at number 7?
So if you go all the way down,
going up.
Yeah, so out of the top 50 craft breweries by production, 1, 2, like Yuengling, Boston Beer, both have lost production value as well as craft beer share value. So not only are they dropping in the amount of beer that they're producing, but they're also dropping in the amount of beer that they're producing versus other craft breweries.
What are the 6 above Stone?
Oh, Jesus. Let's go in here.
Oh, if you don't have the list.
Yeah. I got it. It's Sierra Nevada, number 3. So 1, 2, Yuengling, Boston Beer, Sierra Nevada. Duvel Mortgat, which is Firestone Walker, Boulevard, and Omegang. Gambrinus, which is number 5. Artisanal Brewing, so Victory 6 Point Southern Tier is number 6, which puts Stone at number 7.
Okay.
And Canarchy at number 8, which Canarchy dropped 13% in volume year over year. I mean, I answered your question. I answered your question, Dan. I was waiting for you to
Sorry, I was waiting for everyone else too. So it kind of surprises me. I guess it doesn't surprise me that a lot of those are actually going down. Sierra Nevada kind of surprises me. Boston Lager or Boston Beer actually kind of surprises me. The others, I can't. When's the last time any of you drank a Southern Tier beer?
I
bet it's been a while.
It's been a long time for Southern Tier.
Yuengling declined 4%, Boston Beer 6%, Sierra Nevada 4%, Duvel Mortgat 2%, Gambrinus 7%.
It's a big drop.
And while Artisanal Brewing rose thanks to Bell's no longer being a craft brewery, they dropped 5%.
Like, it's kind of surprising. Yeah, like Southern Tier has some great barrel-aged beers, but everyone's not buying those. I can't remember the last time I bought one. A lot of those breweries, I don't know, it kind of surprises me. Sierra Nevada kind of surprises me. So does Yingling as they're expanding into more states. But I think it is coming down to people are wanting to drink more local. I'm surprised Stone increased. Like, what's a Stone beer? Like, I'm down for Woot Stout, but what's everyone else drinking as far as Stone goes? No one's drinking Arrogant Bastard anymore.
So Stone, I believe, got a big bump maybe in their production thanks to the Sapporo purchase, because Sapporo purchased Stone. And this is their last year, but that was like late 2022, so I don't know if you can pull a plus 3% increase thanks to that kind of purchase. But yeah, again, like all of these breweries, like if you look at Canarchy, honest to God, I can't even tell you the last time I even drank a Perrin beer.
Yeah.
I can't.
They're more regional beers or national beers now.
I can't tell you the last time I drank a Bell's beer, and I love, like, sorry, let me rephrase that. I did drink Bell's on draft a week ago, but before that, honest to God, can't even tell you the time before that.
It might have been 3 weeks ago,
but the thing is that, like, I only drank it because I saw Bell's Amber on draft, and I'm like, oh my God, Bell's Amber on draft, I have to have that. But then here's the thing is that I drank a drafting table Rosie. And I literally texted Aaron while I'm drinking this. It was one of the best beers I've had all year. Drafting tables Rosie. Like I'm gonna buy a keg of it, most likely before I buy that odd side keg that I promised.
I was gonna say, how many kegs are you buying right now?
I mean, I can fit 2 Sixtels in my kegerator, so that might be a thing, but I definitely will be buying a keg of that Rosie. That was so fucking good. But yeah, like Canarchy number 8 was down 13% in production value. Drop. That's a huge drop. But like Minhas is number 15. They're up 18%. Athletic, which I think is really the big anomaly here, they're up 63%. Which I mean is not really expected, but there's one that I think a lot of people will expect when I say it, and that's Brooklyn Brewery is up 28%. And the reason for that is because of their NA line. That special effects line is so good, and it's like Athletic is 1 and Brooklyn Brewery is 1A. 100%. I'll put.
You think so?
Oh, for sure. That beer was so good. Every single beer that I had from Brooklyn's NA selection was just such a solid choice.
Even over the Untitled Art ones?
Yo, 100%. I hated most of the Untitled Art stuff. That and most of the Untitled Art stuff is like 300 calories for an NA beer, and that pisses me off. It does. I'm sorry.
That's more than a lot of.
I might as well drink the.
Yeah, it's almost
just
like
drink regular beer. Yeah.
Yeah, like Pizza Port entered into the BA top 50 this year. They increased by 11%. So there's a lot of breweries that increased and entered into the top 50. But I think some of the old guard is going to start to fade. And I think after 1 and 2, which is
Sierra Nevada,
Boston Beer Company, and
Yingling. Oh, sorry, Yingling.
I think the rest of them are primed for being purchased, and it's gonna suck, and everyone's gonna hate it. But I feel like Ken Grossman over at Sierra Nevada, who probably is gonna be retiring here soon.
He's getting up there.
Unless he finds someone to sell it to or find someone to pass it down to. Where he can get like a stipend and live off of it for the rest of the time. Like that's the thing with Larry is that there was nobody to pass it to. And
so Sierra Nevada could sell and he'd have enough money for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but the thing is that there's a lot of shit. Like even I was talking to Jay Green over at Perrin, and Perrin gets a lot of shit because they sold a lot to Monster. Canarchy is owned by Monster Energy. And like a lot of people give Perrin and those breweries shit because they're not craft beer, even though they're brewery association craft beer. Like, we've joked about it too many times on the show, but it doesn't fucking matter as long as you make good beer.
Yeah, 100%. Like our top brewery, I talk about it all the time. Our top brewery in Arizona is Four Peaks, owned by Anheuser-Busch. They make the best beer overall in the state. Like, just because, like, people will shit on Four Peaks, but they'll go buy BCBS every Black Friday.
Well, what's
nothing.
the red ale from Four Peaks?
That's the Kilt Lifter.
The Kilt Lifter, like, that's just such a solid fucking beer. Like,
it's a great beer.
I picture Kilt Lifter on the same level as 312.
Yeah,
like
it's the same type of thing.
Like, great beer, consistent beer, and I could find it at a lot of places. Like, what is wrong with that? Like, I get the business practice issues with a lot of like Anheuser-Busch and some of these bigger, Molson Coors. Really, it's just those two. Because if you talk about like Constellation, which is a huge fucking brewery, or Diageo, or Sapporo, or Kirin Lion, like these breweries are fucking huge, but they don't necessarily have the ruthlessness publicly that Anheuser-Busch will have, and Molson Coors will have in both purchasing beers, lobbying against other breweries, like craft breweries. So I just, like, for me, if you like it, it's a good beer. Thank you, North Center Brewing.
Yeah,
shout out to
episode number 2.
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of these breweries, like, they grew and they'll stay big, but they won't stay as big as they used to be in the grand scheme of things. Like, there will no longer be, like, Sierra Nevada will no longer be as big as they ever were.
Which is sad when you think about it, but also, like, what are you doing to expand at the same time?
Well,
like, I mean, that's where people get lost.
The little things, like they're doing things to help, I guess, stop the hemorrhaging. Like New Belgium, before Voodoo Ranger and before all their hazy IPAs, name one New Belgium beer that isn't Fat Tire. Yeah, they were one of the top selling beers. Yes, they have the triple. They have plenty of the
brownie salted caramel.
Dan names the limited release 1 year beer.
Why did they make it? Why didn't they keep making it? That was the beer I would buy every week. It sounds like
you're a little bitter about that.
Well, no, but it's a beer I would buy every week. So why wouldn't you keep making it?
Because nobody will buy it, Dan.
Because it's not Voodoo
the same
Ranger?
Reason they changed Fat Tire, which, by the way, I tried, and I don't hate it.
It's not bad. It's not good. I mean, it's not what I want. Therefore, it's not what I care.
But it's not getting bought anyways.
But that, again, like, there are all of these beers and all of these brands where we just don't care to buy them anymore. And when we don't care to buy them anymore, they just sit on the shelf. Like, sure, we'll buy, like, while, Dan, you and I, we used to watch TNA wrestling Sunday nights. We weren't buying craft beer, even though we were drinking it. We were buying Newcastle kegs. Like that.
We were buying a mini keg of Newcastle. You're absolutely right.
Would
we do that in 2023? Probably not.
No, we probably would. I feel like it would still be a shtick.
Totally would.
Unless they'd get like mini kegs of Hop Slam at that time.
We've done that too.
Yeah, so. But that's the thing is that unless it is something that is meaningful to you, like the Newcastle Brown to Dan and I, these beers we just don't drink anymore. We just don't care about anymore. And it's not for the fact that they're bad or worse or changed recipes or anything like that. It's we can only drink so much. That's all that matters. We can only drink so much.
So, see, to put it out there, Sierra Nevada Pale is still an amazing beer. I tried it after we had Sierra Nevada on there, and she was like, "Go try it again. You probably forgot about this. It's an amazing beer." But I think a lot of people are like, it's also thought of as an old beer. Like, yeah, I had that 10 years ago. what's the new thing?
It's the
You know?
anchor
Final
steam of
Absolution.
our generation.
Yeah,
God,
exactly. That's a good way to put it.
Like that's a hyper local version of this entire setup.
Mhm.
Is that Final
Yeah.
Absolution? Great beer. They still produce a decent amount of barrels every year, but why would I buy Final Absolution when I could buy the new variation of dank juice from Outside Ales?
Yeah,
Or I can buy
I think that's it exactly.
I could buy the brand new
I-
release from Old Nation, the Rubicon or the Orbital or the LMFAO, like whatever new beer.
That's what I run across, is that when I go to purchase at a store, I'm always looking for something I haven't had before. Not something I've already. I don't go for my old favorite. I go for something new.
God,
You're
I
not
might
looking
get
for Sierra Nevada.
something
Yeah.
new and then an old favorite. But when I come across, like, anytime I go to Ohio, I pick up Yingling just so that I have it if I want to drink it.
that old favorite is there for you at the bar that doesn't have craft beer. That Sierra
Yeah.
Nevada Pale Ale is at that random restaurant that you're at that has beer but not very many extra options. That
Exactly.
cherry wheat Boston Lager, new or old, whatever. Fat Tire. I mean, we talked about it. Remember when we talked about it? Shock Top.
Yep.
And like that's such a faithful beer to be at a place where it doesn't sell craft beer. That's why I
You
love
and-
these. Yeah, Nick and I, we went to a bowling tournament and we talked about it being a bowling alley beer, and sure as shit, it was there.
Mhm.
It was
But
right there behind us.
So was Smirnoff Ice at that bowling alley. Like, these beers are so good, but there is nothing that I can say, nothing that anyone can do that can change you from not wanting to go try something new. Like, if I set in front of you, here's a test. If I set in front of you a brand new ginger ale and a Werner's, you're going to drink that Werner's.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because you are going. Wendy's saying no. Dan's saying yes. I got 3-1. You're gonna drink that Werner's because that is tried and true Detroit. So if I put in something in front of you like a, let's go with Final Absolution or new triple that you've never had, you might be like, you know what? I like that Final Absolution. I know that Final Absolution. That Final Absolution is nice. So you're going to go for that hyper local beer, but when you get into a grocery store, you don't have that 1-in-1 choice. You have Werner's, Diet Werner's, Werner Zero, Squirt, Coke, Pepsi, RC Cola, Crown, that's what
Crown Royal?
Crown Royal.
Crown Royal.
Royal
RC
Crown,
Cola.
which
Royal
is
Crown.
Royal Crown, which is RC. You have all of these choices to where then you're going to be like, oh, you know, I might try this brand new Brix, B-R-I-X, Brix, which is a local soda company. I might try that instead because the price is going to be, you know, a little bit more expensive, but it's something new and I never had before. But that's where the 1-in-1 situation, it's easier to pick. But when you've got 100 choices, you're going to go with something new in your style that you've never had. And therefore,
Every time.
when you always go to 8 Degrees, Zatuna, Total Wine, your choices are 1,000 choices. So you go with the new thing you never had before, and you never go back to those old styles. So you know what? As I leave this shit, we've been talking a long time. Go for those older styles. Give it a shot. You know what? You got a 5 out of 6 that you've picked in a mix and match 6-pack. I don't give a shit that you've tried it 100 times. Go grab a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Go grab a Final Absolution from Dragon.
Go grab a Shiner box, something like that.
God.
Yeah.
Like, these beers are still there. They're still good. And if you want them to stay the same flavoring profile and you don't want them to go to way a Fat Tire on Boston.
I haven't tried the Boston Lager.
Excuse me, you don't want to go the same way as the Boston Lager? God damn, go buy those beers. Because I tell you what, nothing tells a brewer like New Belgium when nobody buys Fat Tire and everybody's buying Voodoo Ranger that they need to change their recipe like you not buying.
Yeah.
So do your part.
That wasn't even just changing the recipe, though. That's a totally different style.
Oh, yeah, they changed the style. That's for sure. That's going to do it. The news segment, May 26, 2023. My name is Ken. For my co-hosts, Wendy, Nick, and Dan, thank you so much for joining us again. We will be off next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks. We're going to have Arctic Circle Brewing on for a Michigan beer series. I'm excited to have them on. We had them
Good
on,
to have them back.
We had them on right at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, right as they started to try to open.
Before they opened, yeah.
Yep. So we'll be chatting with them to talk about their beers, including their upcoming massive Juneteenth release. Dan, big surprise, they're going to be sending out some Arctic Circle beers for you.
What?
So you'll be able to have.
Oh, I'm excited. For real?
For real.
All right.
For
let's
real.
Go.
I tried to get it in advance, and they said it's not ready, and we can't do it. So I will make sure we ship it. So that's going to do it. Better on Draft Podcast, episode 318 and the news segment, May 26, 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, Fridays, 7:15 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Better on Draft. All of our social media is Better on Draft on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Untapped. It's all at Better on Draft. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's spelled DRAUGHT.
No.
Better on Draft. Have a good night.
Cheers.